welcome to Sunday Night Prime Time on KOFO. John Jacobson here. Coach Patrick J. Knapp Jr., the Georgetown legend, riding alongside tonight with Sean Torres, our great engineer. We are taping this as the Royals are playing, and just by a slight tape delay, as we're on here at 6 bells after the network news. And guys, we are sponsored by Mid-America Energy, Mid-America Renewable Fuel, LLC. At Mid-America Renewable Fuels, LLC, it's energy for a strong America, lean, clean, and green, ethanol, renewable fuels, ag, vectors of revenue for our farm families who also keep that food supply in the control of the American farm family, not in the hands of big corporations and not dependent on all that Mideast oil anymore, since we are converting that ethanol to energy for a strong America. And we thank Jim and CD Chandran, who also help sponsor through Life Runners. Go to liferunners.org. Get your t-shirt, walk and run for life, helping expectant mothers and their babies along the way and after they're born. And hello to everybody tonight. We're the home and away voice of your Royals and your Braves on 1220 1037 and always streaming live on KOFO.com, as well as this podcast that Sean puts up here at the end of the evening on KOFO.com. Click podcast, click the Jacobson Report, where we've always got Coach Knapp giving us these great updates. And hello to our audiences in Franklin and Anderson and Lynn and Miami, Johnson, Douglas counties, the folks listening in as far away as our capital of Topeka, Lawrence, the Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, Baldwin City, home of the Baker University Wildcats, and the good folks in Wellsville and Princeton and Paola and Osawatomie and Osage City and Gardner and Garnett and everywhere within the sound of our voice. This great signal on a hot, sweltering 90-degree de facto September mid-Sunday here on the plains. And we've got now, no stranger to the heat, Coach Patrick J. Knapp Jr. from the New Mexico desert. He is a big shot still at New Mexico State University. He and Kirk Ferentz still ruling the world at 70 years old. And Coach does broadcasting on ESPN for college women's hoops. He's an expert in that, having won championships in the Big East with the Georgetown Hoyas. And also, Coach has got his own podcast. Coach, welcome to the show. Ring the bell on that great podcast you've got out there. How do people pull that in? We link to it here on our podcast, but how else can they find it?
Yeah, good day, John, and happy to let your audience know our play-by-play on Spotify or Apple, as well as YouTube, is all about sports. We have a Texas legend by the name of Larry Tidwell, and I have to get that up. Larry has coached for 50 years in high school and college in the state of Texas. Amazing. Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech.
Wow.
And he comes with a lot of folksy humor and great stories. So tune in.
It will be great. Friday Night Lights, Texas, the epicenter of that, and a man with a half-century career. It should be a great conversation. Well, we're going to have a great conversation today. So much sports to talk about. And as we march to those trenches, Coach, you can take them in order. Everybody's waiting with bated breath to hear your takes on the Chiefs, on the Royals, on our KU Jayhawks, and on our K-State Wildcats. Let's tour the wide world of Knapp.
Yeah, John, today's a big football game in Kansas City, and you're right, it's 92 degrees out there. I don't know what it will be at game time, but the Chiefs host the Eagles. The season is young. Both teams have only played one game. Chiefs flew 18 hours or more on trip.
Yeah.
KC to Brazil and back.
Yeah.
Very exhausting. Not much time to rest and prepare when you come back.
Right.
But Kansas City needs a running game. Now, Andy Reid is not prone to dominating the run over the pass. And
well, Coach, let me interject.
Mahomes,
you would know that because you're well acquainted with Andy Reid. You're a Philly guy. You knew Andy Reid before all of our KC Chiefs fans knew Andy Reid. You're the Philly Flash.
Yeah, when we yell at him every Sunday to run the ball more. But having said that, 2 Super Bowls ago, That's how he did win the Super Bowl against the Eagles.
He did.
Isaiah Pacheco had a great game. But that's what he needs. He doesn't need Patrick Mahomes being his leading rusher with 57 yards in a game. The other key to the game for Kansas City is who will be their leading pass catchers. They have Xavier Worthy hurt. They have Rashid Rice out. So Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce need to pick up the slack. And the key for Chiefs viewers, the Eagles have 4 brand new starters from a year ago. 2 D-backs, 2 defensive linemen. So they're inexperienced and unsettled at several defensive positions. Even though they're 1-0, I'm taking Kansas City to win this game, and Kansas City is an underdog at home, getting a 1.5.
Wow, Coach, this is a great take. And, you know, I love it because you're so plugged into the whole Reid coaching career and being a Philadelphia fan and being from that area and attending a lot of those games. You've tracked both Reid and the Eagles. It should be a classic matchup tonight. I was watching one of the NFL games earlier today. You know, Coach, I can't believe that it has been almost 40 years. They're celebrating Jim Nantz, an anniversary for him today on CBS. Almost 40 years doing NFL football. Can you believe 4 decades? It seems like just yesterday he was a young Jim Nantz, and he's in his mid-60s like we are or have already seen.
You said 40 years?
Yeah, 1987 was when he was on the telecast for the NFL on CBS, and we're just next year will be the actual 40th calendar year to celebrate that. So they celebrate a little bit early today, and of course it seems like just yesterday when I saw a young Kirk Ferentz with K-State's Bill Snyder on the sidelines when I was going to school in Iowa City, and you know, Coach, I can't believe that's been fully 40 years ago. 40 years ago, when I was watching that Rose Bowl team, quarterbacked by Chuck Long, with Kirk Ferentz as the offensive line coach, Hayden Fry, the head hawk, and Bill Snyder running the offense.
Wow, that's a Hall of Fame stamp right there, no doubt.
And so, Coach, I want to just segue for a second. Travel can be brutal, and you had to do some of that in the early years because the Big East, going back even 33 years ago, third of a century ago, you had to do some for what was considered to be Herculean travel in the day. Now, I know with Pac-10 teams joining the Big Ten, travel takes on a whole new meaning, and with the NFL going across the pond and below the equator. But, Coach, you guys had some forays at Georgetown with college ladies who had to get tests in and big term papers in, yet you would have to go to Miami, you'd have to go to the Midwest to play. How does that wear on a team? Even if these are young people in great physical shape, there's still that lag, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. The time change can definitely be hurtful. But these pro teams have charter flights with chairs or seats that turn into beds, elite training methods, hydrating methods, but still 18 hours is a long haul. That's a long haul. So we'll see how the Chiefs bounce back from that.
Coach Patrick J. Knapp here. Coach, let's talk about our beloved Royals. We carry every game here on KOFO, and they were within 2, and then it's very competitive for this wild card race. But time is starting to run out, Coach. What are the Royals' chances?
Well, John, I've had the privilege of watching them play the Phillies 2 straight ball games. They're actually beating Philadelphia this afternoon as we speak. The game's far from over. The Phillies will clinch the National League East if they win. So right now, the Royals would be a spoiler. But in watching 18 innings of baseball, both Philadelphia victories the last 2 days, besides Garcia and Witt and Pasquantino and believe it or not, Salvi Perez hit 2 home runs yesterday.
Wow.
The Royals lack a lot of hitting,
yes,
a lot of major league bats.
Yep,
they really do.
Yep.
And I believe their starters are middle-of-the-road guys most of the time. Seth Lugo probably being the best starter, although we haven't seen him yet. And by the way, what is with Salvador Perez? He should be playing nose tackle for the Chiefs. He's huge.
Yeah.
He can't even run.
No, he's a big man, and some of these baseball guys have different body mass indexes. That's for absolute certain there. Well, guys, remember, catch every Royal game from here, even into the postseason if we get there, on KOFO 1220 1037. Coach, college football, boy, there were some great late games last night, and let's take a tour of the colleges, and then we'll have you wrap it up with some NFL takes. But your pick first, the Jayhawks or the Wildcats, are Kansas teams here to our listenership that's roughly divided equally between the two.
John, Kansas had the week off after that difficult loss at Missouri. But K-State traveled down into my territory, into the desert at Tucson, Arizona.
Yes, they did.
And they lost, and they lost 23-17. The key issues were on the offensive side. K-State struggled significantly, John, managing only 193 total yards compared to 412 for Arizona. Avery Johnson, a terrible 13-29 for 88 yards. The Arizona ground game was stellar. They raced for 189 yards on the ground. So you would say that on both sides of the ball, K-State was deficient. They're now 1-2. They're in a tough spot. I saw the Big Two Power ratings this morning on the KU website that has Kansas 5th in the league and Kansas State 12th in the league based on power ratings. Could be a long year in Manhattan.
Well, you know, Coach, I think you're right about the whole deal there is Kansas is just a whiff away from being winless. One of those wins was literally in the last minute. And you know, it's, if you look at that overall scenario there, their last two losses, also, they're actually 1-3, of course, because they lost that first game against Iowa State, and then they lost to Army. They almost lost that comeback win last week, and they could easily be 0-4, but they could just as easily be 3-1, even if you say they lose to Iowa State. These last two games against Army and last night were definitely winnable. They were one-score games, and they remind me a little bit of what KU went through last year, early season, with all those one-score losses, Coach.
Yes, absolutely. I think in an early look at the Big 12, John, the line of scrimmage is key. They're clearly not as big and mobile as athletes in the Big 10 or in the SEC. So the better the line you have, the better off you're going to be. That's no gem of knowledge. Everybody knows that, because offensively, the league is explosive.
It is.
They can score a lot of points. So, I don't know. You might have a team go 7-3, not 7-3, but 6-3, and win that league.
That's very possible.
It's going to be tight.
Yeah, it's very possible. And, Coach, there were some great matchups last night. There were some big upsets on the road yesterday. You want to recap a little bit of action last night for us?
Yeah, the Notre Dame game was big. It was highly rated on NBC. If their holder, Tyler Buckner, has been around for a while, it's like 25 years. If he hadn't dropped the hold on an extra point kick, that game would have still be played, because it would have been in overtime.
Absolutely.
But on the last play of the game, Texas A&M threw a pass into the end zone and beat Notre Dame on the matchup. They win 41-40. The other game that went into OT and was highly rated was Georgia at Tennessee, and Georgia won that game on a touchdown run in the first overtime. It was a good weekend of games. The Big Ten, John, played mostly their money games.
They sure did.
Lower tier games.
Exactly.
Next week, a biggie is Illinois at Indiana. Both teams are being talked about as being a fourth Big Ten team that could go to the playoff, but that's next weekend.
Indeed. I mean, some are touting Illinois as the Indiana of 2025, and Indiana's saying, wait a minute, we're not gone yet. What's going on here? And of course, you've got strength being shown by the top tier always, your Michigans, your Ohio States, your Penn States. Kirk Ferentz gets all-time winningest coach in Big Ten history. And, Coach, I lived to see Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler coach, not so much Amos Alonzo Stagg, but I wonder if we'll ever see another Big Ten coach. And I also saw Joe Paterno coach, who was in that top 5 mix too. But I wonder if we'll ever see, with the football the way it's configured now in college, a coach having a 27-year tenure to be able to rack up 206 wins, averaging 8 games a season. You think those days are done, Coach?
They're pretty much done, because let me just throw some news at the audience. Earlier today, Deshaun Foster, coach of UCLA, was fired.
Really?
And Brent Fry, head coach of Virginia Tech, was fired.
Wow.
So I got that news from the Phil Steele Bible of College Football website this morning. You might get somebody like James Franklin, who's like in his 12th year. He might go for 20 years, but it's going to be rare, John.
Kirk Ferentz was saying that in this modern day and age, he may not have survived into season 3 when he took over for the 99 and 2000 seasons, when he was hired in the fall of 98. His first 2 campaigns, the Hawkeyes were 1-10 and then 3-8. And, the natives were getting restless, Coach.
Yeah, and what's interesting, he's absolutely right, but what's interesting with these firings at UCLA and Virginia Tech is that these guys have up to the 4th game of the year to declare transferring.
Oh, my goodness. I forgot about that.
Some guys could transfer right now.
That. Wow. Hey, Coach, speaking of Big 12, how for real is this Nebraska Husker team? Are these true doormats, or are they that good? Boy, they were stoking it again yesterday at Lincoln.
Yeah, true doormats. They play Michigan next week. They obviously will have their hands full there. I think Matt Rule has a good handle on college football today. He's got his strongest roster in 3 years. I think Nebraska will be a high-end Big Ten team this year, top 4 or 5. There's so many teams in the league. If you finish 5th in that league, you're going to have a great year, but you won't make the college playoff unless you're in the top 4.
I'm thinking now that this Nebraska team could win 9 games this year. And, we're going to find out. And, Coach, your take on Iowa State. They're the other big bruiser in the conference, including our Wildcats and Jayhawks.
Yeah, our good friend Matt Garst was going crazy on the text chain yesterday. Matt, an Iowa State grad, a loyal Iowa State grad, yes, yelling and screaming, this team's horrible, they're not any good. I think they're 3-0, Matt.
Yeah, they are.
They're 4-0.
Yeah, because they won that first game over in Ireland. Yeah, exactly.
Right, and Rocco Beck is an All-American. It was an off weekend. They'll be ready for the Big 12 next week.
Yeah, go ahead and have a few cobwebs this game. It really ramps up again. Coach, NFL on the rest of the day here, including into the night. How's the season shaping up so far, NFL-wise for us here? How would you say things are looking right now? I would say it's been very thrilling how are they going to top Sunday Night Football after what happened last week,
Yeah.
Coach, who do you think is the hottest team right now in the NFC and the AFC? To me, the Bills look really good, and I think psychologically that was huge for them, what they did to the Ravens from a confidence standpoint. And they've got the quarterback, obviously.
Yeah, Allen at quarterback for the Bills.
Josh Allen, wow.
I think you're right there. The other team that is getting huge props after that trade for Micah Parsons and the way Jordan Love is playing are the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, man, you got it.
What happens today with the Eagles will go a long way as to where they are in the top 3 or 4 in the NFC.
You're right. I think you're absolutely correct. Coach, anything else going on out there? You don't hear quite the buzz with the WNBA playoffs. There's other stuff, going to start up not terribly far away is college hoops. We're already in the middle of September. What does it look like for the college hoopsters? They're already practicing in the gyms, aren't they, Coach?
Our exhibition game for 24th for these teams, and they're playing other D1 teams at the end of October. But the other things, John, that are going on, in a couple weeks, the Ryder Cup at Beth's Age in New York.
That'll be a great rivalry. What are you looking for there? Will the fans behave?
No, they won't. Not in New York. I listen to...
yeah, we've been there and done that before. Kind of rowdy over there in the past, some history in these
a lot of radio
European U.S. competition, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of radio hosts in the New York area. How wild it's going to be.
Guys, it's been epic to kick things off tonight on Sunday night here on KOFO, your home voice of the Kansas City Royals. And guys, it's going to be a podcast worth listening to, even through our auspices. We run Coach's Podcast through KOFO.com, our podcast tab, and just look for play-by-play. Coach, where else can they find this great podcast that you do?
Spotify, Apple, and this one is on YouTube as well.
Wow.
So you can see our ugly mugs.
Hey, play-by-play with Patrick Knapp and Jerry Busson. Guys, I want to thank Jim and Cindy Jandrin, co-sponsoring us both from Midwest Renewable Energy, LLC. Renewable fuels out of southeastern Nebraska there. Ethanol, energy for a strong America's leanest, cleanest green, and the great work they do helping those expectant mothers and their babies along the way and after they're born at liferunners.org. Dr. Pat Castle is the executive director of that organization. Guys, get on their website, liferunners.org, order that t-shirt and run and walk for life. This is John Jacobson here. Stay tuned for more great programming tonight on Sunday Night Primetime with Sean Torres and the epic legend Patrick J. Knapp Jr. saying to all listening in tonight, we thank you for joining us. And until we meet again, be safe, be smart, be good, be strong, love Jesus Christ, and God bless us, everyone. Bye-bye.